I look, in all honesty, I just look at this and it's horrible. And I'll guarantee you these criminals got harder while they were in prison. It's like Sinwar. He actually was one of those prisoners in an exchange, I think in 2010 or 2011. He's the one that led the...
2015 when, I think it's 2015 when they exchanged like 1,500 terrorists for the life of one Israeli soldier, Gilad Shalit. What happened? Who's Sinwar and what happened? We know what
he's
happened.
He's the mastermind behind the October 7 massacre.
Shalom everyone. Well, I'm back from this great conference in Oklahoma, and it was a few days ago. Can't keep up. You can't keep up. It's just amazing. As we were at the conference, this Trump peace deal, whatever you want to call it, kind of came together, and everybody was speculating at that conference. It was about 25 speakers. It was a big event. Everybody was speculating about the outcome. Is it going to happen? Will it? Well, now we're on the other side of it. The hostages have returned home. And friends, I've got mixed feelings about this. I want to share with you. I'm excited about the hostages. Who wouldn't be? But I've got mixed feelings about it. And I just want to discuss it with a good friend of mine that I don't get enough on my show, so whenever he's available, I'm thrilled. So make sure you connect with us. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. You go to shalomandmessiah.com to get more information about our ministry, and you can also support us there. Connect with me on Telegram, and of course, I have a new book. This Antisemitism in the End Times. It's out on Amazon. It came out on October 7th. There's a lot of information you're going to want to read in this book that's going to really help you understand the situation and make a difference for the kingdom. But let's get back to this Trump peace plan and kind of try to kind of unpack this a little bit. And for this, I bring in Pastor Tom Hughes.
Olivier Melnick, it is always wonderful to be with you.
We were at the conference together, but I barely saw you.
I barely saw you too. I was not there long,
right?
Unfortunately.
So Tom, let's get into this right away. I got up, on the day of the hostage release. I got up and watched most of Trump's speech at the Knesset, and I have mixed feelings about the whole thing. I'm super excited that the hostages were released. I mean, this is a good day for Israel. This is a good day. There's no question about it. The families are reunited. We're still waiting for the rest of the 28 bodies. I think 4 have been identified so far. We're still waiting for the rest of the bodies. But I've got mixed feelings. There's so many different moving parts. What did you make of it when you watched the whole thing, and how do you feel about it? The first reaction.
My first reaction is I'm very, very happy for the families that have their friends, their loved ones have been released. The hostages are back home.
Yeah.
I'm very happy about that. I cannot imagine what it would be like to have your own child being taken like that. I cannot imagine the pain I would go through. You would want the pain to stop. You'd feel so horrible. I'm very happy about that. But at the same time, in all honesty, I'm very troubled by what I'm afraid is coming. Because when I look at it, in fact, it's a heartache that I have. We're both going to be in Israel in another week. Less than that even. I'm looking at it, Olivier, and I feel like what's happened is there's been a reset. Israel was winning, the IDF was doing amazing work. All of the anti-Semitism, all of the horrible things that were said about Israel, the lies being spread about the IDF, which the facts are finally starting to come out now, about what really happened, who really was killed by the IDF.
Yeah.
They put up with lies. They risked their lives. They lost friends. They lost loved ones, all for these Hamas terrorists and the wicked propaganda against them. And they're about ready to win. And all of a sudden, it's like, stop, stop. And this is the way I would liken it to this is you got a football game going and there's only 2 minutes, the American football game, because that's sport I understand. You got 2 minutes left in the game. You've gone almost four complete quarters. One team is winning 50-0, but everybody in the stands hates that team that's winning. So all of a sudden, it's obvious that they're going to win. All they got to do is run the ball into the end zone, and then the whistle blows, and it's obvious.
Right.
So instead of allowing the game to finish, the referee blows the whistle and says, "Nope, we're going to start all over again. Let's move back to the 50-yard line. The game doesn't count. Let's go back to where we were before the clock ever started ticking." And that's the way I see this. It's like all of a sudden we're right back where we were October 6th. 2023, there's a ceasefire, and Hamas is still there. And they still have the support of the Western media. And I'm also, I'm very troubled by it because and some of my Israeli friends I've also already talked to, they're like, okay, we're so excited the hostage has been released. But
Yeah, how would you not? Everybody is excited about that. That's a no-brainer. That's the obvious. But then, like you said, it's I mean, keep going. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, well, that's okay. I mean, so we have 2,000 terrorists that are released or something like that by Israel back to Gaza, back to Gaza. So one of the terrorists has been released. Just to give everybody a frame of reference of what's really going on with this, is if we think back to, you would know the person's name and everything involved. The two young men that were in Ramallah, and they were taken hostage and they were mutilated and they were bloodied and they were sliced. And the one young man had his hand pressed against the window and got the bloody hand, thrown out the window. He's murdered by terrorists. One of the terrorists was released was that guy who mutilated that young man. And it says, and the other wicked part, all over Hollywood and all over the Western media, they took that young man's bloodied hand and flipped the script and put that on Israel as if Israel has done that to Gaza. The whole thing is a lie. It's absolutely appalling. But just think, 2,000 terrorists like that, right around 2,000.
Do you think that terrorist who threw that young man through the window, do you think he had a change of heart? Do you think he had a come to Jesus moment? Do you think he changed? Of course not.
So,
No.
I mean, I look, in all honesty, I just look at this and it's horrible. And I'll guarantee you these criminals got harder while they were in prison. It's like Sinwar. He actually was one of those prisoners in an exchange, I think, in 2010 or 2011. He's the one that led the...
2015 when, I think it's 2015 when they exchanged like 1,500 terrorists for the life of one Israeli soldier, Gilad Shalit.
Yeah.
And so Sinwar, and go ahead, because I was going to say that. What happened? Who's Sinwar, and what happened? We know what
he's
happened.
He's the mastermind behind the October 7 massacre.
Exactly.
The massacre of Jews who were in their homes. They actually had these people from Gaza that were working on their homes. They came over, they blessed them with jobs. They had medical attention from Israel, but they were actually a bunch of terrorists.
And I guarantee you, Tom, I guarantee you that of the 2,000 people, the terrorists that are now that have been transferred back to Gaza, I guarantee you that something will come out of that group very soon. That will be another terror attack. It may never be another October 7th. And I think Israel. I'm hoping Israel has learned and that they are better prepared now. And I think they are. But I guarantee you that those guys in prison for the last couple of years, they were not just sitting and reading books. They were planning, what are we going to do next when we get out?
Yeah, guarantee you they weren't reading the Torah and converting to Judaism or Christianity.
Right. Exactly.
It wasn't happening. So So they're harder, they're planning, they're going to go back, they're going to do something. And, there's going to be another shoe that's going to drop sometime,
Yeah.
probably not next week, probably not in the next month. Everything's so heightened right now, but the day is coming. Listen, these are wicked, 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 evil, radical terrorists that they listen to demons, and the things that they've done has been demonic. So evil are they that there are no Hamas celebrations, or nobody from Hamas is allowed to have a protest of any kind of sort in any other Islamic country. So I mean, you're looking at this going, certainly aren't allowed. They won't even let the people in Gaza into Egypt, let alone somebody is labeled as a terrorist. So you look at this, go, where's it going to go? It is a reset. That's where we are. And this is what troubles me. They're going to do the same thing they've always done. And the lies about the two-state solution, the whole thing is just a lie. Israel's lived with a two-state solution since 1922. Different two-state solutions as the land has been partitioned and sliced up, and Israel's been attacked and attacked and attacked. And there's not going to change. And you know what? As far as I can see, the people that are behind these types of things, how can you not know? Olivia, I'm a Gentile. All I do is read my Bible and watch the obvious. And how can you not know this if you're a smart person?
Well, most people do not read their Bible. See, that's the thing. And but and I don't think that when I look at Trump and his cabinet, he might have some pastors giving him some advice for whatever, but I don't think the vast majority of them get it when it comes to the end times. And certainly, I mean, I watch, the news that I watch, most of what I watch is on Newsmax. And again, we don't want to minimize, we don't want to dismiss the importance of the historical event of the release of the hostages. This is a beautiful day from that perspective. We will never take that away. This is beautiful. But when I hear Trump saying that this is a time where we're bringing everlasting peace in the Middle East, and this is the end of terrorism. Seriously?
That's a,
He's gonna have to eat his words very quickly.
it's just like, oh my gosh. So here's the reality of New York City. When this whole deal was announced a few days ago, guess what? They're celebrating in the streets of New York City by who? The pro-Hamas crowd, because they saw it as a victory. And they were saying, as was October 7 in Israel 2023, so will be here in New York and here in America. So Hamas is celebrating this as a victory. They're about ready to lose. The IDF has got them surrounded. All of a sudden, the whistle blows, and no, what? We can deal with this problem once for all. And you want to know what else can happen? The cameras are going to be rolling into Gaza, and because of the mindset of Western journalists, they're going to look at facts. They're just going to say, "Oh, how awful! Look what Israel did. Oh my goodness!" And the anti-Semitism, it may be quenched for a few weeks. It's not going to be quenched for long. It's going to come rolling back,
Yeah.
and it's going to be worse because, listen, the funding is coming from these radical Islamic people that hate Israel to fund the propaganda that's out there.
Do you think I heard that from two different sources that the reason why Trump was able to accomplish what he did with the release of the hostages is because he reached out to Qatar and said, "Listen, Israel went after Hamas in Qatar." Proving that basically nobody from Hamas can hide anywhere in the world. There's still a target, and Qatar was really concerned and about their safety. And then Trump basically said, "Well, I can help you with that, but you're going to have to convince Hamas to sign on the dotted lines." Is there any validity to that? Have you heard that?
I don't know if there's any validity to it, but I mean, nothing would surprise me anymore. I mean, now we know, we talked a little bit about it off air. There's this Qatar/US military base that's going to be in Idaho now,
I
is
know.
it? I mean, so I don't think anything would surprise me. But Qatar is, between them and Iran, the number one funders of terrorism worldwide. They were the huge funder, the biggest primary funder of the universities, and they're from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. It was Qatar that was funding those primarily. There were other leftist groups and communist groups involved too, but primarily that. You look at Mamdani in New York, you're going, oh, that's where the money's coming from to fund his campaign
And
and get everybody on board.
and they're funding, Qatar is funding, I think, what is it, $100 billion in U.S. universities?
Yeah, okay. And yeah, they've just reached another $500 billion deal on some kind of business thing with the US. So here's the thing. So people talk about it's the Israeli money that runs the world. No, it's not. If you just look at the money that Israel doesn't have versus the billions and even trillions of dollars of these Islamic countries that fund the invasion of Europe, and they
That's
are
right.
taking over. They're colonizing Europe. That's what they're doing right now. I don't care
Yeah,
anybody.
you mean to breaking news on this channel? The Jews are not trying to control the banks. This is breaking news here?
Well, it is if you're used to listening to Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson, you're being shocked right now, probably calling us liars. No, here's the deal. Just prove it. All you got to do is go look at the numbers.
That's right.
I
That's right.
mean, and even okay, and even going back to the red hand, right? That we talked about earlier in the program,
In
the
Ramallah.
bloodied red
Yeah, yeah.
hand of this young Jewish man who was brutally slaughtered. Now it's Hollywood anti-Israel people who put their pin on. And so people say, well, the Jews control Hollywood. Well, they're not doing a very good job of it there because all these people are wearing that red pin as if blaming Israel for the bloodied things that were going on in Gaza.
That's,
So
and
it's,
if we control the press, then maybe we would write something nicer about Israel in the press. But we don't control the press either.
well, yeah, and well, they must control social media. Well, if they control social media, Israel's doing an awfully bad job of it. I've never seen a country do such a bad job. If they've got all the money in the world, they're running the world. If they control the press, if they control social media, if they control Hollywood, there's never been a nation or people in the history of the world that have done such a bad job of doing that. And the same people who say it's Israel that does all these things say how good Israel is at everything they do. Well, if that's the case, why are they doing such a poor job of controlling the propaganda? Because they aren't controlling it.
That's right.
They do a terrible job. They can't even fund, they get enough problems just buying bulletproof vests for their own IDF soldiers.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we have
so,
to get involved
yeah.
in helping with that. So now I want to ask you another question because I think that two of the reasons why this approach is not going to succeed, and then I want to look at it maybe through a biblical lens for a little bit to see if there's any dots we can connect. Number one, and I want your take on this. Number one, Trump handles everything that he does, and it's good and it's bad. Everything he does, he handles as a business deal, and so it's good in many ways. But sometimes it can end up being a problem. But everything is a business deal, the art of the deal. And number two, and that's not just Trump, that's the rest of the world. And I don't know why you and I and Brendan and a few of others would get this, but they wouldn't. You cannot handle the Middle East from a Western civilization perspective. If you look at it from the West, you cannot handle the Middle East that way. Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. That's the uniqueness of Israel. But the rest of the Middle East, you cannot deal with them with a Western civilization mentality because they don't function that way. They worship death. We value life. Israel values life, I would say probably beyond what the Western world even does on their own when they are doing a conventional warfare. I think Israel goes above and beyond what conventional warfare is requiring of humankind. So there's a value of life versus a worship of death. And I think until we really look at the Middle East, not from a Western civilization standpoint, we'll never understand, we'll never be able to deal with them properly. What do you think?
And I don't think it's ever going to happen. So even as we look at this current deal, from everything I've read, it was actually Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff who are the ones who are doing all the work. Listen, they're all about the money, you know. So you look at this and go, okay, listen, and of course, if you're from Saudi Arabia or Qatar or any other Islamic nation, hey, we're going to make money on this. Sure, we'll enter into this. This is going to work in our favor, but they don't care about lying. It's part of the Quran. Go ahead and lie. And if the other problem is if you go back to the end of World War One, and you start having the different mandates for how different nations. There's the French mandate, the British mandate, and so forth. Right? You have these different mandates, and when you look at them for the areas that became Islamic territories, you find out, well, they don't run the way the West does. They're tribal. They don't do this. So it would never work. It's never going to work. And so there's absolutely no way, apart from the Jewish mind, which is able to get it and say, okay, you give us this land, we'll work with you. But the Muslim world doesn't work that way. They're democracy, no.
No,
So you're going to have
yeah.
you have families even in Judea and Samaria. You still have tribal in Gaza. And here's the other thing with Hamas, there's enough other groups in Gaza that want to eliminate Hamas. So it's whoever ends up being the strongest. So Hamas, as of right now, is still
They're killing them. They're killing them on the
people.
streets.
Yeah, they're killing them on the streets right now because they can't have a rival. This is how they roll. And so for me, I'm going, come on, how could we, you mentioned yourself and Pastor Brandon, and you look at this and go, it doesn't take a genius to look at this and go, hey, they don't think like we do. They have the Quran. In fact, they're supposed to lie if they can go back and it's going to go in their favor. Hamas said last week or a few days ago, they were asked, I saw the statement, if they were, it was, gosh, I can't remember the term they used. Are you really going to lay down your weapons? No, it was, what they used was a term that basically means this is what we've always done in the past, the type of warfare. We just go along with the so-called peace deal, knowing that we're going to destroy you. The whole thing. And the problem is Israel's caught in the middle because Israel has, in a sense, a Western mindset, but they also understand the Islamic terrorist mindset.
Yeah.
And they know that they're going to come after them. But yet there's so much pressure from the West saying now with all over Europe, Australia, it's BDS against Israel. Boycott everything against Israel unless Israel complies with what we are telling them that they have to do. So Israel's in a very difficult spot. But in the beauty of it is, in this, Israel is going to be led to the place of redemption. That's still not till the future as a whole, but there's so much pain that's going to come. And that's what it really troubles me because I think the world's just being duped by a lot of this stuff.
So let's talk about that the glorious future of Israel, and that's that. I want to kind of wrap up our conversation with that. First of all, there's been some, I've seen some comments on different media platforms, social media platforms in the last few days. You get both sides, and there are people who are starting to say that Trump is the Antichrist. So I don't think he is, but a lot of people can be utilized by the Antichrist for his purpose. And I'm not saying this about Trump specifically right now, but I would say that the peace deal leading to the Abraham Accords, to more countries coming to peace in the Middle East, as we're seeing unraveling right now, coming together right now, would definitely set the stage. I mean, the stage is being set, but it's not the beginning of the stage setting. It's like the final touch on the set before the play starts. I think that's where we are right now. stage is being set. I don't think Trump is the Antichrist, but my goodness, are we getting close? What do you think?
Yeah. I think getting close, I look at it as just part of the stage setting, moving some things around. And a lot of stage setting, the people have to be prepared. So not only do masses of people in the world have to be prepared, but all the specific players within a particular region. I think for somebody to say Trump is Antichrist, personally, it's kind of silly. I mean, when I look at the personality of Antichrist in the Bible, very charismatic, very likable. Sure, the Antichrist is full of themselves, but I look at what's going on with Israel and I'm thinking, and these terrorist organizations, it's like, no, it's like not again, it goes back to what you said about earlier. The Western mindset doesn't get how they all work.
Right.
So somebody's going to come along that's able to put the whole thing together that totally gets how Islam works.
It exactly.
It,
It's somebody who's going to be able to, that's a very good point. I never thought of it in those terms, but it's somebody who's going to be able to connect the Western mindset and the Eastern, the Middle East mindset and get them to really work together and agree for a short time. We know, but that's the person, that's the Antichrist.
yeah. And he's also going to have to understand the importance of religion. Because we know with the woman who rides the beast, you have the spiritual dynamic that comes along with this system that's being built. And so religion will have to be a major part of that system that is coming, not necessarily of Antichrist himself, but definitely led by the false prophets. So it's the understanding, it's the manipulation, but the understanding is going to be far greater than what we currently have with any of the world leaders that we see that are at the top of the scene right now. My guess is Antichrist is sitting there in the behind the scenes somewhere,
Oh yeah.
doing something because we know from Daniel chapter 7, he raises up, he's the little horn that's going to come up. So he's just not seen yet. I just can't, I don't know, I just cannot buy that Trump is Antichrist. I'm getting these all the time again, as much as I was getting September 23rd was going to be the rapture, right? So
Yes.
that didn't happen. And it's like, it's easy to find somebody and make them a target. But let's go back to what the Bible does and doesn't say and realize, listen, this peace deal is anything but the Daniel chapter 9 covenant. And for one thing, to me, it's not even a peace deal. It's a ceasefire that's going to be temporary.
It's not a peace deal because Hamas has not capitulated. They have not they have not signed a peace treaty. They're simply saying we'll return the hostages, but leave us alone. We're staying put, and that's
Yeah,
so that's
and
going to
give
be
it,
interesting.
yeah, and give us 2,000 more terrorists because we want to come back after you.
That's right.
Like, yeah. So I just don't see how I cannot.
I
I'm
no,
sure people. Yeah.
I don't see him as being the Antichrist. But I wonder. Do you think, and this is a little speculation here, so it's hard to tell. Do you think Trump is going to continue being a staunch friend of Israel all the way through his term? Because I'm starting to see things where he's pushing in directions that are very uncomfortable, biblically speaking.
Okay. So I'll say this. I know I'll probably get some more people who will stop following me again, stop watching my
Well,
stuff.
remember, this is from my show, so they probably stopped following me first.
Both of us. Well, I'm the one saying it, so you can say I don't agree with him.
I probably
So
I probably do.
so I look at it like this. Okay, I got to go back to it's this. What this thing is just a reset.
Yeah.
To me, Trump. This is me. It is going to totally bother some people. Some people that I'm friends with. They're going to be really mad at me for saying this, but it looks to me like Trump has now put Israel in a precarious position.
That's the
And
point I'm trying to make.
and I was it intentional to do that? I mean, I can't know the heart of an individual, but I look at this and think, wait a minute, I can figure it out. You can figure this out. We're not even that high. We're not even in politics, and we can look and go, wait a minute. I don't think. I personally don't think Netanyahu runs anything. I think Netanyahu is run by the U.S. administration. That's how I look at it. This is what you're going to do. This is what we're going to agree to. The IDF is about ready to finish off Hamas, and all of a sudden, whoop, game over. Can't go there. We're going to have to start all over again.
Well, I mean, Israel relies heavily on the U.S. for their supply of armaments.
They do. So what's Israel going to do? They're going to, and I do believe Netanyahu's going to, he's not going to be prime minister much longer. I think his days are coming. I think Israel is going to, the infighting in Israel, if we go back pre-October 7, 2023, it was getting ugly. I think we're going to pick up to the ugly infighting. The 12 tribes of Jacob didn't get along all that well in the Bible. And I think we're going to see a lot more infighting coming up. And
Yeah, I mean, I was
probably gonna
talking.
be a
I was
bad.
talking to one of our contacts in Israel, and he was saying that Trump was. He said, when we listened to the Knesset speech from Trump, he said what Trump was really nice about. He said a lot of nice things about a lot of people, including Netanyahu. But you have to understand, only 20% at most in Israel are in favor of Netanyahu.
That's not many.
No, that's a fifth. That's 20%. That's not many. So I think you're right. I thought that Netanyahu was the best man for the job, but now that they think the job is done, which of course it's not, he might be replaced. And I fear that if he's replaced with somebody who's a lot more liberal, a lot more on the left, then the next time could be more of a bloodbath than what it was. I mean, yeah, Israel. I don't think Israel is in a good place right now. I mean,
I don't
for
either.
the time
And
being, at least for the next few weeks, but next few months, whatever. But I don't think it's I'm again happy about the hostages, hoping that they can bring all the dead bodies soon. But I heard you the first time you mentioned that it was before the conference even. You said, Olivier, this thing is resetting everything back to October 6, 2023. And when you're the first person who said it, and I thought like, wow, you know what? That's a very, very, that's profound. That's a very good point. That's
yeah,
sad.
it's very sad. And also, just thinking about the IDF soldiers, all of them that fought so hard and went so hard, separated from their family, saw horrific things. What are they going to do now when Israeli government comes? Let's say it's a year from now. Just throw it out there. They're attacked again. How many of them are going to say, "Sign me up. Let me get in there and fight for my country again"? After, I mean, this destroys the morale, I would
Right.
think.
And I found that in one of our mission trips to Israel, I found out from one of the IDF reservists that we work with that when you're in a reserve, they call you up, but they don't force you. If you don't go, they don't sue you, they don't go after you. So I fear that a lot of them are going to go like, hey, you know what? We tried to do the job the first time. You did not let us finish. Now you want us to go back again. Then what? A third time? A fourth time? That's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, and you know what? And the anti-Semitism is only going to increase against Israel.
I,
We know, it's horrible. I am very troubled by again. I'm thankful the hostages are home.
yes.
By That's outstanding. But I'm fearful for the nation of Israel. Except we know God is on the throne. We know God's going to keep Israel. He says, "I will fight for Zion for all those." We absolutely know that, but it's going to come with pain. We also read the Bible and see the time of Jacob's trouble. So we know Jesus even warned about Matthew 24. So we know there's pain coming, and I don't like that. And I feel like we just warn people.
So
Yeah.
what would be your advice to Christians today? Because a lot of Christians might be discouraged when they see what's going on in Israel, as they understand really what we're talking about here. I don't want to discourage people. I want to encourage people. I want to encourage people to speak the truth, to be involved, to like I've said a lot now in the last, in a few messages that I've delivered at different conferences that, if you really love Israel, if you love the Jewish people, you need to be ready, prepared to share the gospel with them, and that we can equip you for that on the shalomandmessiah.com. But also, you need to pray and ask God to show you how to be an Oscar Schindler or how to be a Corey ten Boom. What can you do to be ready to reach out to your Jewish friends? The gospel is the most important thing you can share with them. But beyond that, what can you also do to be there for them? What would you say to Christian today who might be discouraged by what they're seeing, and not knowing what to think, what to do?
Right. Be careful. Number one, be careful on what you pay attention to on social media and news outlets, because we are being lied to all the time. Know that God's word never lies to you. So we have to be strengthened right now, and all of these lies will weaken you, and it can cause compromise. It can cause you to just not get in the game. Um, be strong in the word. Be more steadfast in understanding what God actually says about Israel. There's 170 times in the Bible that God talks about bringing Israel, the people of Israel, back into the land. 170 times in the Bible in the last days. So we start getting these things. It's we have to take in these types of things, but it's building up our strength and listening to the right voices as we go through this. Also in Matthew chapter 25, the passage that you know so well, Olivier. In fact, it was you several years ago was talking with me about that passage, and it's a passage that Jesus is giving during the time of the tribulation, when the Gentile reaches out and ministers to the Jew. When did you give me a cup of water? When did you visit me in prison? It's talking about physically coming alongside, or coming alongside Jews any way you possibly can in their time of great trial. And then at the end of Matthew chapter 25, Jesus even talks about those who are just bystanders, not even involved in it, but just bystanders,
Look the other way.
not getting involved.
Yeah.
He talks about them being cast into the lake of fire. So you cast aside. So you look at that and go, we have an opportunity. I know that's strong for everybody listening, but I say just read Matthew chapter 25 and understand the context with the sheep and the goat nations in the Joel chapter 3, and say, which side am I going to be on in this?
That's
And
right.
I personally believe that we're in a test right now. And if we're willing to allow the Lord to do that work in us, we will grow stronger. It will understand better. Our faith will go stronger. But but do not capitulate. Be careful on the voices you listen to. So make sure that you get plugged into God's word and what He actually says.
Absolutely. And by the way, when you said that, which side am I going to be on? I just want to make sure the audience understands that you and I are thinking of that passage as a model for us today on which side we want to be on today, but we're not speaking of which side are we going to be on during the tribulation, because we're going to be taken up before that. But I always say that that passage, which will unravel during the 7 year tribulation, needs to be more than ever today a model for Christians to reach out to the Jewish friends right
It,
now. And that model
that,
can be applied
that's great.
today. And so that I would agree with you. But I think, Tom, I think that really when you look at Israel history and you see God's faithfulness with Israel against all odds, all the things that Israel has gone through, all the people that tried to destroy Israel and the Jewish people, and even since 1948, all the wars that Israel have gone through, up to not so much this last one in Gaza, which I don't think is over, but what happened with Iran, the miraculous operations that took place, that this very small sliver of land and people in the Middle East would be able to do to accomplish what they've accomplished over their history, can only be done by a miracle from God, and because of God's faithfulness and the promises He made that He would never let Israel be destroyed. So if you look at Israel today, and honestly, I don't care if you don't like the Jews or not, if you look at Israel today, still being here today, you have to admit that God exists, and the promises He made to Israel, and if He's still keeping those promises, then the promises He's made to you as a follower, as a believer, are standing the same. So Israel to me is an encouragement to believe in God, to follow God, and to know that He's not going to renege on His word. What do you think?
Amen. Israel is evidence that God is real, that that God can be trusted, that God keeps His promises, And to anybody who doesn't want to acknowledge God, Israel becomes a problem for them.
Absolutely.
It's just God is holding up Israel as his, in a sense, his jewel to say, look, but God is the promise keeper. You know, and all those people who say, well, you only support Israel because you just overlook sins. No, we don't overlook sins. God doesn't overlook sins. This book is full of sins of Jewish people. The Bible is full
Uh,
of them.
Full of it.
So
Yeah.
God sent the Redeemer. But the thing about this book, it just doesn't have as many sins of the Gentiles because this book is a Jewish book.
That's right, and the fact that you know this book has all the sins of Israel. When we support Israel, when we understand the place of Israel in God's divine decree, in His divine plan, it doesn't mean that we automatically that this places Israel a situation where all Jews are saved and they're in good standing with God. Israel is in God's plan. Israel will never be destroyed, but single individuals in Israel and Jews around the world need to come to Yeshua the Messiah through the bloodshed at Calvary. It's the same for everybody, Jews and Gentiles. Nobody comes to the Father but through the Son. Even Nicodemus went to Yeshua at night in John 50, John 3, 1 through 15. And he thought he was in. He thought he was in the club. Say, hey, I'm a rabbi. I'm a leader of Israel. I'm in the Sanhedrin. I'm super Jew. So I'm in. And Yeshua said, you can be as super Jew as you want. You're not super enough to be without sin. You need to be born of the water and born again. So Jewish people need to come to Messiah. And by the way, Tom, you know, and I do, that if no Jewish person comes and realizes that Yeshua is the Messiah, if they all reject the Messiah and there's no Jew left to call upon him with their fears, Zechariah 12:10. At the end of the tribulation, no Jew will be able to call and say, Baruch haba b'Shem Adonai, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, and then Yeshua, Jesus, will not return. And that is changing God's program. And Satan would love nothing more than to be able to say, look at me, I changed God's plan. I'm better than God. But he's not.
He would love to. Well, real quick, just thinking of this. So there are certain individuals in social media that are mocking and saying the only chosen people are those who receive Christ. But so it's really a shot at saying Jews aren't God's chosen people. And the problem is this: what we say as chosen as a Christian, meaning I have become a child of God. John chapter 1, verse 12. Yet to all who receive him, he gives them the right to become children of God. That's Jew and Gentile. That is different than chosen in the sense Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to his descendants forever.
Right.
That's different. They were chosen for a purpose. They were chosen for a land. They were chosen that the Messiah would come from them. And they are chosen that the Messiah is going to come back because that same chosen people are going to call out for him, as you just said, at the end of the tribulation period. So that chosen group has to be here all the way to the
Right.
end. In the sense of us as believers in Christ being chosen, is children of God. We have become children of God. Nobody becomes a child of God, Jew or Gentile, unless they receive Jesus as Messiah. And it's making sure that those two are distinct differences and both are true at the same time, running simultaneously up until the end of the tribulation. So no matter what those social media influencers are saying, they're taking a twist and not allowing the correct interpretation of those words to come into their conversation because they want to be done with the nation of Israel.
That's right. That's right. So, final word, friends. Like Tom said, careful who you listen to. Of course, that does not include Tom and I, or Brendan, or a few others. But stay in the Word. Stay in the Word, and just trust that God is. When He says He's not done with Israel, He's not done with Israel. We haven't seen the end of the story. It's going to be very interesting how it's going to unravel. Tom, thank you for your time today. How can people find you?
HopeForOurTimes.com.
Hope,
Easiest way to find me.
HopeForOurTimes.com.
HopeForOurTimes.com.
Any conference that you need to advertise before I say goodbye?
No, we're going to be in Israel together.
That's
And
right.
Yeah, I can't think of. I know stuff's coming up. I can't even think of what it is right now.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to going to Israel. I'm looking forward to seeing you there.
I'm going to be there just in about a week. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. It's been a few months, but it's funny. I never thought in my ministry that I would be looking to going to Israel 2, 3, 4 times a year. When we first met several years ago, you would already be doing that. I'm going like, gosh, he's going 2 or 3 times a year. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I could ever do that. And here I am going 2, 3, 4 times a year. And but right now there is a tremendous opportunity for ministry in Israel. And friends, if you want to really do ministry that is gospel centered in Israel, you can support anything that Tom does at hopefourtimes.com or what we do at shalomandmessiah.com. Too many organizations are making you promises, you're sending your money, and the gospel is not shared. Be careful who you follow. Be careful who you listen to. Be careful where you send your money. Thank you, Tom. Until next time, God bless you. See you in Israel. Let's have some
God bless
hummus together.
you in Israel. Amen.
Shalom.
Bye, everybody.
Be
Shalom.
blessed.